Lily sat on a cold sidewalk, her back pressed against the gritty wall of an old storefront. The warm glow of streetlights flickered down on her, emphasizing the dirt smeared on her cheeks at T15. She should have been in school, laughing with friends, and exploring the world with innocent wonder. Instead, life had thrown her into the unforgiving arms of homelessness. With every passing day, Lily's spirit was tested. When she was younger, there was more laughter in her life. Her mother used to sing to her at bedtime, melodious lullabies that wrapped around them like a warm blanket. Those memories were like golden threads woven into Lily's heart. They kept her connected to the joy she once felt. But after losing her mother, everything changed. Her world grew darker, and she found herself alone after being shuffled around various relatives who couldn't, or maybe didn't want, to take care of her. Life on the streets was a constant battle for survival. Each morning became a stark reminder that she needed food and shelter. She often woke up to find strangers brushing past her without even acknowledging her existence. Some adults offered a few coins or a half-eaten sandwich, while others avoided eye contact altogether as if she were invisible. Until that point, she never realized how lonely it felt to blend into the backdrop of city life. Despite the challenges surrounding her, there remained a flicker of hope in Lily. Her singing, no matter how low she fell or how hard the sidewalks felt. Beneath her weary body, music always uplifted her spirit. When things got tough, when hunger made it hard to think straight, or when rain soaked through whatever clothes she managed to keep, she would sing softly under her breath. Lily loved sitting near parks where musicians performed for tips and encouragement from their audiences. Watching them strum their guitars while crowds swayed gently brought a smile to her face and warmth to her heart. She dreamed of standing on that same stage someday, but shivered at how far out of reach it seemed now. Most nights after dusk, when shadows lengthened and people headed home from their busy days at work, Lily would listen to sounds drifting from bars nearby. The unmistakable hum of music mingled with laughter spilling onto the streets carried tones filled with warmth that contrasted sharply against nighttime's chill. Yet every time she imagined herself up there singing alongside those performers she admired so much, a knot formed deep within. Fear tightened its grip around familiar wishes left unfulfilled. Doubts brewed inside like storm clouds raining down seconds before sunlight warmed them anew, swirled together. A mix of hope and terror plaguing a heart yearning only for solace. Around this time of year, the nights becoming so much cooler than they had been in summer, something else stirred homesick longing deep within Lily too. Thanksgiving was approaching fast. Families celebrated together amidst tables full of food, while she had no one waiting for her Thanksgiving warmth. Away from those festive gatherings existed something deeper. A connection hidden behind chords buried beneath heartache, giving birth each day to beautiful moments still waiting patiently out there, craving voices longing escape just like hers. They danced inside each word, sang sweetly flowing whenever curiosity unlocked the door leading forth through songs, joining hands across unseen barriers, while echoing long-told tales connecting grief with joy generations. Weaving forever written lovingly through harmony, revealing strength hidden, sometimes lost once words became mere whispers fading between breaths. One evening chance collided unexpectedly, as fate intervened, whilst Lion's Den echoed lively surrounding pathways, bustling sound emanating anticipation flowing eagerly beyond busy chatter, inviting those captivated to share moments caught amid pure expressions crafted together. Bright lights twinkled against stained glass windows, displaying colors spilling vibrant energy, alive, calling every listener closer. Bold hearts opened wide, instead reflecting isolation's distance melted away, releasing endless possibilities, presenting warmth now entering grasp, beckoning softly, holding hands firmly amidst music. Souls carried voids, returning newly united paths, known manifest future, bright, unimaginable, soaring high. Above glittering fabric, hope united across diverse medley created. Together revealing promises tucked safely close along various journeys lived, emerging destinies, bound deeply woven unity, celebrated endlessly unfolding together, carved twists, lifelines reimagined, illuminating again, beneath glowing starry nights, where dreams danced silently, beckoning hearers, captured woven magic, calling instincts, reminding sweetest memories, best treasures, either lost ever reconnect, meant truth, shining brightly true. Through sad glimpses, remembered, loved, softly treasured. Forevermore. But first came challenges. Words spoken inhibiting fledgling aspirations buried plus weighing fears blocked horizons few dared embrace, uncertain monumental songs thriving lost raised going strong aimed toward crashing chords yet shifting longs filled resonating breakthroughs beckoning fiercely, no longer whispered behind dark facades crumbling barricades forged throughout years held fast swaying steady gently coaxing brightness born break, even hardest pages untold subtly paired call. Opening touch nearly combustion awaited barely escape constraints soft illuminated calls finding aficionados promised opening gifts everywhere instant awaken routines spark passion, catching stray spirits blending timeliness chance turning realization pushing drastic shifts toward positioned outcome, as unknown achieved nodes echoed brighter justice sprouting harming confines collapsed pulling audience near warmed beckoning serene endearing songs. Close gently as flame spark dances half closed. Eyelids urging minds slowly dream unfolding brightness alighted shining pure companionship responded finally breaking far beyond darkness inviting lightedly soaring beautifully flying this night promising permanence found. The bar, known as the Lion's Den, was a dimly lit establishment nestled between two larger buildings that seemed to tower over it. Its neon sign flickered intermittently, casting a soft glow on the cracked pavement outside, inside. The air was thick with the mingling sense of spilled beer and fried food, creating an atmosphere that felt both inviting and overwhelming as patrons filled the space. Their laughter and chatter buzzed like a swarm of bees, enveloping every corner with an energy that pulsed through the wooden floors. A small stage at the back featured a microphone stand illuminated by a single spotlight. A guitar leaned against a speaker, waiting for its turn to join the symphony of voices. The walls were adorned with photographs of musicians who had graced that very stage, their faces frozen in time, each one echoing stories of dreams and aspirations. Tonight, however, the mood felt a little different. There was a sense of restlessness in the air that hinted at something brewing beneath the surface as Lily stepped inside. Her heart pounded in her chest, she was swept up in a wave of sound and light, and for a moment, she stood frozen at the entrance, taking in everything around her. The bar stools were filled with people in various states of enjoyment. Some eager for entertainment while others sought refuge from their own troubles. The clinking of glasses harmonized with bursts of laughter, creating an almost chaotic symphony that rang in her ears. Many patrons barely noticed her presence as they chatted animatedly or raised their drinks in cheers. A group of friends at one table erupted into fits of giggles over something one had said, while another couple sat close together, lost in their own world. Yet, amidst the joy and camaraderie, there lingered a sense of detachment for some. A man slumped over his drink at the bar's edge stared blankly ahead, while a woman wiped away tears as she spoke softly into her phone. Lily couldn't help but feel that everyone carried their own stories. Stories filled with hopes and disappointments, joys and sorrows. The bartender moved with practiced ease, mixing drinks and taking orders with an effortless charm that seemed to match the lively atmosphere. He greeted regulars with friendly banter and gave newcomers a knowing nod, but Lily felt invisible among it all. She fidgeted with the hem of her worn-out jacket. A nervous habit formed from years of feeling overlooked. Suddenly, laughter erupted from a nearby table as someone shouted a name familiar to Lily's ears. Jake! It was the name of the young man who had spotted her outside earlier and insisted she come in to sing. He was now leaning back in his chair, clearly enjoying the attention he garnered from his friends as he drew out stories about his latest antics. The crowd's laughter grew louder as they encouraged him, momentarily drawing their focus away from Lily as she stood there watching. Doubts crept back into her mind. What would they think of her? Would they laugh or jeer if she failed to impress? Hidden behind her nerves lay an unwavering desire to sing, the very thing that had kept her spirit alive through countless struggles. Yet she couldn't shake the feelings of fear creeping up as she stood unceremoniously at the edge of this vibrant scene. Eventually, after what felt like hours but had only been minutes, Jake's voice rose above the noise again. "Hey everyone! We've got someone special here tonight," he exclaimed, pointing toward Lily with an enthusiasm that made her cringe. "She's gonna sing for us." A hush fell over the room as all eyes shifted toward her like a spotlight suddenly shining bright on a stage. Moments before, she had blended into the backdrop. Now she stood at center stage, the focus of everyone's gaze. Some patrons exchanged curious glances while others leaned forward in anticipation. Lily's heart raced as the silence enveloped her like a heavy blanket. She could feel their eyes on her, measuring her worthiness before even hearing a single note. Just moments ago, she had been invisible. Now every face seemed to hold an expectation that sent chills down her spine. The crowd's mood shifted slightly, swinging between excitement and skepticism. Some looked genuinely intrigued, perhaps hoping for a surprise, while others seemed ready to judge. Whispers floated through the air like scattered leaves. She looks so young. I hope she can actually sing. And what's she doing here? Yet amid those mixed reactions, something tugged at Lily's heart. A determination sparked by memories of her mother's lullabies and dreams of sharing her voice with others. She took a deep breath, pushing back against the tide of anxiety threatening to pull her under. Somewhere inside her heart, hope flickered brightly like a tiny flame waiting to ignite as she stepped closer to the microphone. A newfound clarity washed over her. This was not just about singing. This was about breaking free from her fears and showing everyone, even herself, that she could rise above it all. Today might be different. Today might change everything. With one last glance at the crowd, the mix of curiosity and skepticism still lingering, Lily opened her mouth to sing. That in that moment, she was determined to let go of uncertainty and find the strength buried deep within her soul to share her gift with those willing to listen. And perhaps in doing so, she might also find herself along the way. Lily stood frozen in front of the microphone, her heart pounding so loudly she feared it might echo through the room. The spotlight felt like a spotlight burning bright, drawing attention to every flaw she had ever perceived in herself. She could feel the weight of the crowd's gaze, each pair of eyes measuring her worthiness before they had even heard a note escape her lips. Anxiety surged through her like a tidal wave, threatening to pull her under. Just moments ago, she had been invisible, merely a shadow among the jubilant patrons of the Lion's Den. Now she was the center of attention, and the sudden shift felt both exhilarating and terrifying. The laughter and cheer that had enveloped her moments before now felt like a distant memory, replaced by an oppressive silence that pressed down on her chest. What if I mess up? The thought echoed relentlessly in her mind, drowning out any flicker of hope. Memories of past failures haunted her. Singing off-key in front of her mother, stumbling over lyrics during practice sessions at home, and the looks of disappointment from those who didn't understand her passion. Each recollection added another layer to her anxiety, wrapping around her like a heavy cloak. The crowd was a mixed bag of anticipation and skepticism. Some patrons leaned forward, intrigued by the prospect of discovering something new. Others looked more than ready to critique. She looks too young. One voice whispered just loud enough for Lily to hear, igniting a new wave of self-doubt. What's she doing here? Another muttered, their tone dripping with judgment. Lily bit down on her lip, feeling tears threaten to spill from her eyes. She longed to run away from this moment, away from the noise, the expectations, and especially away from the fear that threatened to consume her whole. But as much as she wanted to escape, there remained an unwavering desire deep within her. A desire to be seen not just as a homeless girl, but as someone with a voice worthy of being heard. She reminded herself of why she loved singing in the first place. It was a way to express emotions that words alone could not capture. Singing brought her comfort during the darkest nights spent alone on the streets and acted as a bridge connecting her heart to those who listened. It was one thing to sing quietly in the shadows. It was entirely another to share that gift publicly. Yet here she stood, feeling small against the backdrop of raucous laughter and clinking glasses. The voices around her were no longer just background noise. They loomed larger than life, amplifying each heartbeat that raced through her body. Would they laugh? Would they mock? Or would they listen? Glimmers of self-assurance sparked within her as memories of her mother flooded back. Her soothing voice humming lullabies while cradling Lily close. Those cherished moments reminded Lily of hope and resilience, instilling a newfound determination within her trembling heart. She took another deep breath, trying to gather strength from those warm memories, but doubt still swirled like storm clouds overhead, overshadowing any flicker of encouragement. What if tonight wasn't meant for her? What if she wasn't good enough after all? Those questions tugged at her mind like persistent weeds taking root in fertile soil. But then came another voice, a gentle whisper urging her to try, reminding her that every great performer had once stood where she stood now, battling their own fears. Lily's fingers curled around the microphone stand as if it were a lifeline thrown into stormy waters. She closed her eyes for just a moment, blocking out everything else. The crowd's chatter faded, leaving only the quiet rhythm of her own breath filling the void at in that brief second of solitude. She found clarity amidst chaos. Just sing, she told herself firmly. You have nothing to lose. With that thought anchoring her resolve, she opened her eyes again and allowed herself to take in the faces before her one last time. Though some wore expressions tinged with doubt or impatience, others held genuine curiosity. Maybe there were people here who needed to hear her story, people who could connect with the pain woven into every note she might share. Perhaps they too had dreams buried beneath layers of sadness or longing for solace amid their struggles. With newfound courage surging through her veins, Lily stepped forward slightly closer to the microphone. The sound of clinking glasses seemed to fade into the background as she steadied herself for what lay ahead. This was not merely about performing. It was about reclaiming parts of herself that had been lost amid hardship and despaired as fear still flickered within like an unsteady flame. She allowed herself one final deep breath before opening her mouth to sing. In that moment, determination eclipsed hesitance. She would let go of all uncertainty and embrace whatever came next. And so Lily prepared herself not just for notes to escape but for liberation through every lyric sung. Ready at last to transform vulnerability into strength, inviting whoever would listen along on this journey toward finding herself through song amid this cacophony surrounding. Lily took a deep breath, her chest rising and falling as she steadied herself before the microphone. The moment felt surreal, as if time had paused just for her. She could feel the weight of the crowd's gaze pressing down on her like a heavy blanket, but it was within that silence that she began to find her strength. The chatter faded into an almost ethereal hush, and all she could hear was the steady rhythm of her heartbeat echoing in her ears. With one last glance at the faces before her, she closed her eyes for a fleeting moment, letting memories wash over her like a gentle tide. She envisioned her mother's warm smile and the way she would sing softly to lull Lily to sleep. In those moments, it felt as if she were drawing upon all the encouragement and love that had shaped her life. They were the threads holding her together, despite the frayed edges of her current reality. Gathering courage, she opened her eyes and leaned closer to the microphone. The bright light above illuminated her face, casting a soft glow around her. Just be yourself, she whispered softly to herself. The words echoed slightly in her mind and gave her the final push she needed. As she began to sing, the first note emerged from her lips like a fragile butterfly escaping its cocoon. It was a tentative sound, but as it filled the air, something magical happened. The room fell completely silent. Even the bustling patrons paused mid-conversation, captivated by the unexpected beauty resonating from this young girl they had only just noticed. Lily poured every ounce of emotion she had into that first line, letting vulnerability spill forth. The melody flowed like a river, weaving through the hearts of those listening. It was as if each note wrapped around them, creating an invisible connection that drew them in closer. Her voice trembled at first, but with each passing moment, it grew stronger, echoing her resolve to rise above fear. The audience's expressions began to shift from skepticism to admiration. Some patrons exchanged glances, surprise written across their faces as they leaned in, drawn by the raw authenticity of her performance. A couple sitting at the bar put down their drinks, clearly moved by the sincerity radiating from Lily. Even the bartender stopped pouring drinks and turned his attention toward the stage, his eyes wide with wonder. The shadows that had clung to Lily in the beginning started to fade away with each verse she sang. The self-doubt that had previously weighed down her spirit began to dissolve as she found comfort in the music itself. She no longer felt like just a homeless girl hiding in the shadows. She became a vessel for emotion, a storyteller sharing her truth through every note. As she reached the chorus, something within her shifted altogether. The anxiety that had once gripped her heart transformed into empowerment. With each powerful note, she felt lighter and more alive, as if she were shedding layers upon layers of doubt and fear. The audience was no longer just a group of strangers. They were fellow travelers on this journey of expression. Gasps of surprise broke out among some listeners as they recognized the depth of feeling embedded in her voice. There was a fragility intertwined with strength, a testament to all she had endured. For those few minutes, Lily was no longer defined by her circumstances. She became an artist, unapologetically sharing her gift with anyone willing to listen. The atmosphere thickened with emotion, the kind that can only happen when raw talent meets vulnerability. People swayed gently with each rise and fall of her voice. They closed their eyes or nodded along, fully immersed in the moment. Some even wiped tears from their cheeks, visibly touched by the depth of what they were witnessing. Lily poured herself into the final notes with fervor, knowing this was more than just a performance. It was a declaration of survival and artistry combined. When she reached the last line, she held onto the final note for as long as possible, letting it linger in the air like a whisper of hope for everyone present. When she finally finished singing, there was a heartbeat of silence before an eruption of applause filled the bar. Cheers erupted alongside shouts of encouragement and delight from patrons who had been touched by her performance. It felt overwhelming, yet exhilarating. A wave of recognition that swept away any lingering doubt lingering within her. Lily's heart raced as the warmth of appreciation enveloped her like a comforting embrace. In that moment, she realized that she had shared not just her voice but also a piece of herself with those who chose to listen, and as their applause rang out, filling every corner of the Lion's Den, she understood that perhaps this night was indeed meant for her after all. As Lily's voice filled the bar, something magical began to unfold. The first note spilled from her lips like a delicate whisper, fragile yet profound, gracefully untangling itself from the depths of her heart. It was as if the air had shifted. Everyone in the Lion's Den paused mid-conversation, their eyes widening in surprise, as they tuned into the sound that had suddenly captured their attention. The crowd, once buzzing with laughter and chatter, quickly fell into a hushed silence. Conversations faded away, replaced by an almost palpable stillness that blanketed the room. It was a moment of collective breath-holding, where time seemed to stretch infinitely as everyone leaned in closer, eager to listen. The only sound was Lily's voice rising and falling with grace and emotion, weaving a spell that held them all captive. With each note she sang, her confidence blossomed like flowers breaking through frost in early spring. The tenderness of her tone resonated deeply within the listening audience. It was raw and unrefined yet rich with authenticity that spoke directly to their souls. It tugged at heartstrings and conjured memories, each listener lost in their personal reflections triggered by her heartfelt delivery. Lily sang not just words but emotions, her pain, her hopes, pouring them out into the lyrics, like sacred offerings. Any doubts she harbored melted away as she harnessed the power of her voice. An instrument forged through years of struggle, now blossoming on a stage where she felt utterly vulnerable. She reveled in that moment of transformation as her soft notes grew bolder and more confident. As the melody wrapped around them, listeners found themselves swaying gently with the rhythm, united by an unspoken bond formed through shared experience. Some patrons had tears glistening in their eyes. They were moved by this unexpected beauty emerging from a girl whose life had unfolded so differently from theirs yet resonated so strongly. Old wounds, hidden inside them for years, felt stirred awake by her singing. Fingers drummed against tables softly, while others clutched glasses tightly. Everyone seemed to forget their drinks as they became wrapped up in the music that flowed from Lily. The bartender stood transfixed at his station, his hands momentarily frozen mid-pour while he listened intently to the haunting melody captivating every ear in the establishment. With each subsequent verse, Lily unleashed emotions bottled up within her. A reservoir of strength transformed into sound, making her spirit shine like a beacon piercing through layers of societal expectations and judgments. She was not merely a homeless girl anymore. She was an artist claiming her space among those who often felt entitled to judge without understanding. The energy within the room shifted as murmurs of awe spread like wildfire amongst patrons, who were at first skeptical now transformed into enthusiastic supporters. There were gasps when melodies reached soaring heights, curls of laughter when shared moments hit closer than expected. A connection spun tightly through vulnerability expressed openly to those listening fully. Lily could feel that magical energy radiating back toward her. A powerful exchange where every listener became part of an emotional tapestry woven together through song. Every eye fixed on her shone with curiosity and respect that replaced any previous hesitation to embrace this new reality unfolding before them. As she continued singing with abandon, it became clear this was more than just a performance. It became a collective experience wherein walls crumbled, between strangers allowing intimacy to flourish freely amidst shared vulnerability stemming from deep-seated struggles potentially echoing throughout each life sitting close together, with every line delivered perfectly accompanied by emotional crescendos refracting feelings no longer trapped within shadows. They washed over audience members like gentle waves rolling ashore, revitalizing weary hearts recharged anew, no longer weighed down by burdens carried silently day to day. Finally reaching one pivotal high note near the end felt akin to breaking free from chains binding her spirit. It represented catharsis not just for herself but also those absorbing every word sung so passionately out into open-air amplified love, wherein souls resonated beyond forms classified otherwise simplistic labels placed upon them. At long last came that final note, the one Lily poured everything into while holding onto its fragile essence until it hung momentarily suspended before slowly retreating softly back into silence unlike anything dared imagine moments earlier. That hush settled over all, gripped tightly by emotions shared intensely, as one intertwining thread sewing lives together anew, creating connection, healing, opening minds through music shared publicly, now streaming forward just beyond boundaries set forth before meeting hearts anew. When she finished singing, it took just a heartbeat for reality to return. The silence was broken by an explosion of applause that rang louder than any noise heard prior. Cheers erupted alongside shouts of encouragement from patrons whose hearts had been touched profoundly by this girl's voice, summoning strength hidden beneath skin, exposing raw essence freely shared without reservation, confidently inviting all along what awaits become. Lily stood there smiling wide while the warmth of appreciation enveloped her like sunlight flooding cool morning air, acknowledging triumph, finally reached, journey fulfilled through sound, lovingly crafted, transforming lives willingly opened, catching echoes, resonating kindness, filling spaces unexplored, now illuminated around, making room for endless possibilities emerging forth ahead, lighting paths anew. As the last note lingered in the air, the silence that followed was electric. Patrons in the lion's den slowly began to process what they had just experienced. For a moment, everyone seemed suspended in time, grappling with the profound impact of Lily's performance. Then, as if a dam had burst, the audience erupted into applause, cheers and shouts of encouragement filled the bar, creating an atmosphere charged with excitement and admiration. Faces that had once worn skepticism transformed into expressions of joy and surprise. People exchanged glances, incredulous at the talent they had just witnessed. The bartender, who had been standing transfixed during her song, clapped enthusiastically while nodding his head in approval, clearly impressed by this unexpected talent. At a table near the stage, a middle-aged couple leaned toward each other in disbelief. "Did you hear that girl?" one exclaimed, eyes wide with amazement. "She's incredible." Their words echoed the sentiments of many who had come for an ordinary night out but found themselves moved by something extraordinary. A group of young adults huddled together at another table, their drinks forgotten as they focused intently on Lily. The initial laughter and chatter that once filled their corner had faded into soft whispers of appreciation. They exchanged stories about their own struggles and dreams, drawing parallels to the emotion they felt resonating from Lily's voice. "It's like she was singing just for us," one of them said softly, wiping away a tear. Further back in the bar, an older gentleman with silver hair sat hunched over his drink, seemingly lost in thought as Lily sang. He had closed his eyes and let her voice wash over him like a soothing balm now. He looked up with tears glistening in his eyes, a reflection of his own long-buried memories stirred by her song. It was clear that her performance had ignited something within him, perhaps reminding him of a time when he too had dreams unfulfilled. In another corner, two friends were visibly moved. One was biting her lip to hold back tears while the other reached out to squeeze her hand tightly. "I can't believe what we just heard," she whispered incredulously. "She's so brave." The words held a weight that resonated deeply with those around them. This young girl on stage not only shared her voice but also her vulnerability, which was something many could relate to. The energy in the room was electric as conversations sparked up surrounding Lily and her performance. People began to discuss their own experiences. Some shared tales of hardship similar to hers, while others reflected on how art could heal and connect people in profound ways. What started as simple chatter morphed into deep conversations about resilience and hope, igniting a wave of empathy that swept through the bar like wildfire. As applause continued to echo off the walls, Lily couldn't help but smile brightly at the response she received. she felt an overwhelming sense of belonging. Not just as a girl forced to sing in a bar, but as an artist who had touched hearts and inspired others through her music. The cheers grew louder as people stood up from their seats and joined in unison, clapping and hollering, celebrating this moment that felt like magic unfolding before them. One patron shouted out, "You belong here," which sent a wave of warmth through Lily's heart. It was validation she so desperately needed. As she took a small bow, she noticed how every face in the crowd radiated pride and admiration. People who hadn't known her story now connected to it through her song. Each smile reflected an understanding that transcended words. They were united by raw emotion and shared humanity. People began calling out for an encore. They wanted more from this young girl who had completely changed the atmosphere of their evening. Some patrons even raised their glasses in salute, signaling their support and appreciation for what had just transpired. In that moment of shared enthusiasm and connection among strangers brought together by art, Lily realized something profound. She had not only given voice to her own struggles, but had also created space for others to share theirs. 2. The barriers between individuals faded away under the glow of acceptance and encouragement as she stood there basking in the applause. Heart racing with excitement, Lily understood that music possessed incredible power. It could heal wounds unseen and build bridges where walls once stood high. Gratefulness washed over her like waves upon shore. The feeling of acceptance amidst uncertainty swelled within, transforming trepidation into courage anew, while cheers continued to erupt throughout Lions Den, creating echoes lasting far beyond tonight. Lily felt alive in ways previously unimaginable. She embraced this new chapter unfolding before her. A chapter filled with possibility stemming from strength revealed through vulnerability bravely shared. As Lily continued to sing, the atmosphere of the Lion's Den shifted dramatically. What had once been a lively, rowdy space filled with laughter and the clinking of glasses slowly transformed into an intimate sanctuary where her voice took center stage. The moment her first note soared through the air, a wave of change washed over the room, silencing conversations that had previously filled every corner. The patrons who had clustered together, engaged in boisterous chatter, found themselves drawn to her performance as if caught in a gravitational pull. Laughter faded, and the clamor of drinking and socializing quieted to a whisper, leaving only the enchanting sounds of Lily's voice floating above them. The vibrant energy that had pulsed through the bar moments before began to form new connections as attentiveness replaced distraction. It was as if the heart of the Lion's Den beat in sync with her song. More than just a girl standing on stage, Lily became a vessel for emotions long tucked away in each listener. Faces transformed, from skeptical and dismissive to ones filled with wonder and respect. Those who had initially arrived at the bar looking for mere entertainment were now witnessing something more significant, a moment of true artistry that evoked authenticity and humanity. As Lily poured her heart into the melody, people began to lean closer, their gazes fixed intently upon her as if they were trying to decipher every emotion she expressed. Some swayed gently to the rhythm while others closed their eyes, allowing the music to envelop them like a warm embrace. The bar, which had once been a cacophony of loud discussions and playful banter, fell into an almost reverent silence. A collective appreciation for what they were experiencing. The bartender, who had been casually mixing drinks, paused mid-motion, enraptured by Lily's voice, that he placed his shaker down and turned his full attention toward the stage. His expression shifted from indifference to admiration. He watched a young girl share her soul through song while surrounded by people lost in their own worlds. His realization that something profoundly beautiful was unfolding before him made him feel part of this transforming experience. The tables that had earlier played host to scattered conversations now became spaces for contemplation, as patrons exchanged glances filled with understanding rather than judgment. Group of friends who moments prior had been laughing raucously found themselves whispering in awe about how extraordinary and brave Lily was. They became acutely aware that each note echoed not just through the bar but also resonated with their own stories. Their struggles intermingled with the raw emotions woven into her lyrics. Tears began to glisten in the eyes of some listeners as they listened closely. This was not a typical night in a bar. It was a shared experience rich with vulnerability that transcended simple entertainment. An older man sitting alone at the back clenched his drink tightly as memories stirred within him. memories tied together by dreams once chased and lost along life's winding path. Her song became a reminder of everything he had fought for, but often forgot in the hustle and bustle of life. In another corner, Lily's voice captured the attention of two young women sitting together. One squeezed her friend's hand tightly, whispering, "Can you believe this? She's just like us." This moment of connection fueled their admiration for Lily, transforming her performance into a pivotal experience reflecting their hopes and fears. A sentiment echoed throughout the entire room. The air around them felt charged with empathy. Patrons who had come from different walks of life found solace in their shared humanity. Each smile crossing faces signaled solidarity, an acknowledgement that everyone carried deep feelings waiting for an outlet to breathe. Every emotion spilled forth through Lily's voice became an invitation for others to connect beyond appearances and preconceived notions influenced by society. As she continued to sing, the atmosphere shifted from merely observing an active performance into a collective experience. Walls came tumbling down between strangers who once stood apart, creating an environment ripe with acceptance and respect. The lion's den morphed into a sanctuary where hope blossomed amid sadness, a testament to how art can bind people together against loneliness. Finally, as she delivered each final note, Lily sensed how profoundly she had transformed not only the audience but also the very essence of the bar itself. Patrons who had arrived seeking merely another night out were now interwoven into a tapestry crafted from shared stories and emotions, stitched closely together through musical expression. With applause ringing out at last, it marked not just an end to her performance but also symbolized a newfound connection, something beyond walls, typically erected by judgment or indifference. In that moment, Lily understood that even within crowded spaces filled with noise, beauty could emerge through art. As deep bonds formed among people, rediscovered possibilities waiting just beneath the surface where connections flourish once given power through vulnerability, shared loudly enough for all hearts willing listen. As Lily continued to sing, the atmosphere in the lion's den buzzed with an electric energy fueled by connection and support. With every heartfelt note she delivered, patrons began to show their appreciation in waves of encouragement, making her feel as if she was not just performing but sharing a deeply personal experience with an audience that understood her story. It started with soft claps, hesitant at first, until someone in the back stood up and cheered. "You got this!" they shouted, their voice cutting through the silence like a beacon of support. Others quickly joined in, echoing words of encouragement that filled the bar and resonated with Lily. The applause intensified, a rhythmic heartbeat that synchronized with the melody and infused her performance with newfound strength. Lily felt an immediate bond form between herself and the audience, a connection forged through shared vulnerability and unspoken understanding. As she sang, she caught glimpses of faces lighting up. Smiles blossomed where skepticism once lingered. Each cheer seemed to melt away her fears, replacing them with a warm certainty that she was truly being seen and heard for who she was. In the front row, a young woman raised her drink high, proclaiming loudly, "This is so beautiful! Keep going!" Her enthusiasm was contagious, igniting sparks of excitement among those seated around her. The gentle tapping of fingers against tables turned into a unified clap as more people began to join in. It felt as if the entire room had transformed into a chorus of support for this girl who had bravely stepped onto the stage. Even patrons who had been silently watching found themselves swept up in the moment. An older gentleman sitting alone wiped away a tear, nodding his head in time with the music, while occasionally shouting phrases of encouragement like, "You're amazing," or "Sing it." His emotional response resonated deeply within Lily, reminding her that everyone carried hidden stories. Stories that often remained untold until they were articulated through art. As Lily poured more of herself into the song, she noticed groups of friends turning towards one another in animated discussion about how powerful her voice was. They shared knowing glances and nods laden with mutual respect for her bravery. The ability to expose oneself through art often required more courage than facing any physical challenge. The sense of camaraderie among the audience swelled. Even strangers began to reach out to each other as they absorbed Lily's performance together. A man leaned over to a nearby group and said with sincerity, "This girl is incredible. It's like she's singing our stories." The acknowledgement sparked a wave of conversations sharing personal anecdotes that reminded everyone present of their own struggles and triumphs. With every note sung, the cheers grew louder, an unwavering tide of respect flooding across the bar space. "You're not alone," rang out from somewhere in the crowd. It echoed through Lily's heart like a comforting melody woven into her performance. Her once timid voice now soared confidently amidst an outpouring of love, where fear once overshadowed joy. Feeling that powerful energy radiate back toward her transformed her insecurity into empowerment. She became not only a singer but also an emblem of resilience for those listening intently. This moment marked a significant shift for both Lily and her audience, as they all navigated through shared emotional currents flowing freely within the confines of Lions. As the song reached its climactic crescendo, cheers erupted like fireworks, filling the air with spirited encouragement. Patrons stood up clapping enthusiastically. Some waved their hands above their heads as if signaling acknowledgement of newfound hope awakened through vulnerable expression on display before them. "Bravo! Encore!" someone shouted from near the front, a request met by immediate agreement from others who joined in excited murmurs filled with anticipation for more from this remarkable young talent. It was not just applause ringing throughout, but rather a collective affirmation that transcended what initially brought them together. A reminder that music could weave connections between disparate lives often otherwise lived apart. In those moments buried beneath hearts laid bare amid joyful sounds celebrating acceptance washing over all present, Lily realized how much strength lies within shared experiences expressed openly without reservation, creating bonds unexpectedly stitched tightly across divides once perceived too vast impossible traverse. And as she finished singing this song, her last note hanging delicately in the air, the crowd continued cheering louder than before, joining hands together, bridging gaps once deemed impossible. In that instant filled with glowing warmth enveloping them all like soft afternoon sunlight streaming through windows, lifting spirits high, they embraced possibility suddenly unleashed beyond previous limitations, setting forth new paths emerging illuminated brightly ahead. As Lily continued to sing, she felt the warmth of the audience's encouragement wrap around her like a comforting blanket. Each note resonated not only with those listening, but also deep within her own heart, awakening a sense of hope and purpose she had thought lost forever. This was not just a performance. It was a moment of transformation that illuminated her path forward. With every heartfelt lyric, Lily poured out pieces of herself, her dreams, her struggles, and the pain she held tightly in her chest. Singing became both cathartic and empowering. The more she shared her truth, the lighter she felt. The initial apprehension that had accompanied her to the stage gradually melted away as she felt the support radiating from the crowd. Their cheers fueled her determination, giving her courage to explore new depths in her singing. As if each note released shackles that had once constrained her spirit, she connected with listeners on such an intimate level. Lily could see their faces transform, expressions of wonder and recognition replacing skepticism and indifference. It became clear that her voice had not only captivated them but had also unlocked emotions they had locked away. For many, it was as though they were tuning into something deeper than mere entertainment. They were embarking on a shared journey fraught with vulnerability and authenticity. In particular, Lily noticed an older woman toward the front whose eyes glistened with tears as she listened intently, with genuine admiration. The woman smiled and mouthed words of encouragement that pushed Lily forward, urging her to dig deeper into the reservoir of feelings stirring within. It was moments like these, where personal stories intertwined, that filled Lily with a sense of worthiness. She realized that what she offered through song mattered profoundly. The interaction between artist and audience unfolded naturally, as if orchestrated by an unseen hand guiding every reaction and response within the bar. A wave rippled through the crowd when someone cried out, "Beautiful," or "You're amazing." Each cheer encouraged Lily further, crystallizing what had once felt like distant dreams into tangible possibilities, with every beat plus vocal crescendo flowing fluidly from lips formed by unseen strength. She let go of fear while opening doors anew, leading toward newfound narratives yet to be explored right ahead. The joy emanating from patrons became infectious. It spread throughout Lion's Den, lighting up spaces dimmed by shadows cast too long before. Those who had come seeking respite from their own hardships found solace in Lily's performance, not just through escape but through connection. Personal anecdotes weaved into invisible threads connecting singular lives united against isolating moments forged before now intertwining authentic expression freeing voices taking charge confidently crafted forth shared hopes during profound experiences witnessed together, brought effortlessly embodied, within seconds filling bar walls entirely vibrant spirits reflected brightly within. Countless hearts laying exposed glowing courage alive, given space triumphing unison stirring emotions long hidden beneath everyday facades. As the song reached its pinnacle, Lily felt a swell of strength rise inside. An exhilarating fusion between performer and audience brought populated gracious healing softly elevating spirits higher, where anything once deemed unreachable swiftly edged closer appearing vague outlines emerging uncomplicated possibilities awaiting nurturing later on together. Evening devoted time thrilling paths lived fully embraced collectively beyond single solitary existence, intertwined striking chords past pain transforming triumphantly present humbling moments standing away left behind glimmers signaling shift occurring right freshly open now carried forth joyously ahead. Finally finishing a melody deeply rooted in resilience. The last note descended delicately bringing with it echoes reverberating words finding peace cradling everyone lightly under pulsating sentiments, rippling across surfaces streaming forever binding fates renewed, seamlessly flowed brighter connections lighting possibilities existing forth. Once silenced by lingering doubts scattering applause soon returned echoing celebratory joy dancing afloat unearthed power today transcending distancing. Flown instants amplifying purpose rediscovered. Amid echoes still lingering throughout these warm walls, the realization settled firmly upon Lily unfolding paths revealed through music positively influencing trajectories touching souls tangled along lifelines raced along choices eagerly beckoning ahead over unknown terrains stretched infinite inviting whoever shall listen transformation infused courage shared openly awaiting blossomed potential brightened radiant evermore. As the applause reverberated around the lion's den, Lily stood at the microphone, basking in the warmth of acceptance and admiration. In that moment, she felt a profound shift within her. A recognition that she was not just a girl without a home but an artist with a voice capable of touching hearts. The experience of performing had ignited a spark within her, propelling her toward dreams she had long tucked away beneath layers of doubt and despair in the aftermath of her performance. Lily noticed how the world around her seemed to shimmer with newfound hope. The applause didn't simply signify an end to her song. It echoed as an affirmation of her existence, a reminder that she mattered. Gone were the fears and insecurities that had haunted her. They were replaced by a sense of purpose that now filled her spirit. She understood that her music could bridge gaps and connect people, transforming moments of loneliness into shared experiences. As she exited the stage, Lily looked into the faces of the audience. Members, each one reflecting an appreciation that warmed her heart. They weren't just strangers. They had become companions on this unexpected journey toward understanding. Many were still processing the powerful emotions stirred within them, some wiping tears from their eyes, while others exchanged amazed glances with one another as if silently acknowledging the magic they had just witnessed. Amidst the overwhelming support pulsating through the bar, Lily caught sight of the older woman who had smiled at her during the performance. The woman approached Lily slowly, her eyes glistening with gratitude. "You have a gift," she said softly, placing a hand on Lily's shoulder. "Thank you for sharing it with us." Her words resonated deeply within Lily and served as a reminder that sometimes, those who come from different backgrounds can still find common ground through art. Outside the bar that night, Lily took a moment to breathe in the cool air. The streets felt different now, less intimidating, more inviting. The shadows that once loomed large behind her began to recede as she envisioned brighter paths ahead. With each step away from Lion's Den, she felt more grounded in herself. Every echo of applause still rang in her ears like a heartbeat reminding her that she was worthy. This experience became a turning point for Lily. It ignited in her a passion to pursue music more seriously and to share her story with others. And no longer would she let fear dictate what she could or couldn't do. Instead, she would harness that energy to propel herself forward. Singing would become more than just solace. It would become a mission to inspire others and connect through shared vulnerabilities. In days to come, Lily found herself seeking out open mic nights and local music gatherings where she could perform again. Each time she stepped onto a stage, no matter how small or intimate, She could feel remnants of courage from that fateful evening at the Lion's Den flow through her. She began to write songs based on her life experiences, her struggles with homelessness and loss, and discovered healing wrapped in storytelling. This newfound purpose propelled Lily beyond music alone. It shaped how she viewed herself and others around her. She developed an increased empathy toward those struggling in silence because she knew what it felt like to hide one's pain behind closed doors or amidst crowded streets. With every performance, she aimed not only to entertain but also to remind listeners of their strength, of resilience forged through hardship. Eventually, word spread about this talented girl whose voice could touch even the hardest hearts. People began flocking to hear her sing. They sought inspiration from the raw honesty woven within each lyric sung aloud under flickering lights. Crowded bars turned into gatherings filled with laughter mingling seamlessly alongside shared tears, all collectively celebrating emotions felt so deeply yet rarely expressed aloud. The impact of that first performance lingered well beyond those moments at Lion's Den. It carved new pathways not only for herself but for others who listened too. New friendships blossomed among newfound connections cultivated through openness shared openly between artist and audience alike. Reflecting back on that pivotal night now etched into memory forevermore, it was clear this journey only just begun. With these transformative experiences replaying endlessly intertwined hopes embraced awaiting further illuminating horizons, beckoning brighter possibilities unfurling brightly ahead as dreams took flight boldly ready soar freely towards radiant tomorrows waiting patiently ahead.